Vanakkam. This is Hyder Ali Syed from Asivagam, United Under Tamil.
Our boys usually, how our type of people only become our friends, all night birds. So night birds, as a gang, they went somewhere and passing through. That is when it reached the riot reached Kandy. And groups of these people, the Sinhalese people, they blocked them and they asked them to pronounce a word in Sinhalese. Whoever pronounced wrong, they caught them and they beat them. The killing didn't actually happen, that is, but he broke their nose, broke their teeth, and everything. Some of the guys were kept all night, they were beating whenever they feel like. No one knows the outcome. One of my friends were in that state, but our men, our boys, when they learn another language, they make sure they learn it flawlessly. He's actually an excellent guy. He passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. In Sri Lanka, heart attack. He's going to Singapore. They were in a connecting flight, and he was stopped. And he had a heart attack, passed away. So, very close friend of mine during 20s. So he told me this story that they asked him to pronounce since they are smart enough to do it. He is a very smart guy. He can speak Sinhalese flawlessly. So he pronounced it properly. He was let out. What happened 3,000 years ago between these two tribes? One is the Judea massacre. Ephraim identified them, finding them based on the dialect. Exactly the same thing happened in 1983 in a different part of this world. And who are these people? These people are the invisible, East Africans. Based on the historical background, Chera Chola Pandya, all of them, the Tamil ethnic, absolutely known for their seafaring from olden days. Not the only two oldest ethnics are being termed that way. Seafaring people, oldest traders, and sea people. The sea people are the Philistines, and seafaring people are the Tamils. Between them lies East Africa. Erythreans are there. Sabians are there. Because Erythreans and there are, when we read Egyptian pharaohs to history, there was always two tribes, stood by them in all good and bad and everything. That's Nubians and the Kushites. It never said, the Egyptian history never says that Pharaoh had different citizens as Egyptians. Every historian, we can when we meet someone in person who introduced to us saying that, boss, I'm the professor in Oxford. I study Egyptology, spend 40 years. We'll have respect. But the same guy, if you talk to him, he will talk only about Pharaoh. None of them will talk about people because they have no damn idea. Who are the people? Who are the citizens? Who were the Pharaoh's subjects? Because they are reading Egyptian history. They are not reading Kemetic history. But when you read Kemetic history, then you come to know who are the citizens, the Nubians and Kushites. And Pharaoh is a royal clan. Like every other indigenous ethnic groups, even including mine, the royal clans always kept sacred. In our ethnic clan, that it doesn't, even if he does something wrong, our people will try to teach him that what is right. But they will not massacre. They will not massacre a royal family. They will not assassinate a royal member, because that royal family were chosen by our ancestors to be the administrators. Why that same thing cannot be applicable to Egypt? Because accepting the intelligence shown in the pyramids, when we keep pharaohs or the owners, giving that intelligence to Nubians and Kushites is paining. So once the intelligence is given to them, and those people who refuse to give, they feel so inferior when they see a Nubian and a Kushite. Why is it they have to feel inferior and they have to hide the fact? It is because these are the people they want to kill. Ezekiel 38. These are the people, they call them, they are going to be the allies of some devil. From these people, Kushites and Nubians, is where they stole, their ancestors stole their wealth when they left Egypt. These people, because of these people's intelligence or skill set, is why the zero skill set people had to leave. Now they want to brand that pharaohs are from outer space. And the funny thing is, our friend Nabat Nubian, he wants to take up that idea. He doesn't want to think that pharaohs is our own ethnic, our family, one of the family chosen to be in the royal seat. They want to call them as alien, came from different planet, because such intelligent you're not supposed to have. There is no way that you could have had such intelligence. Your ancestors could have had such intelligence, right? So now the alien idea is labeled on Pharaoh because it is very hard for them to say that pharaohs are from these tribes. And in 1000 BC, Agamemnon is a Kushite. If you see the list of pharaohs, there is many times, Kushite becomes a pharaoh after, I think, 2 or 3 patients, and Nubian becomes a pharaoh. Another one is the common, which people no idea whether it's Nubian or Kushite, but the older pharaohs. So it's better to label them aliens so that we won't think that Kushites and Nubians are intelligent people. And there, between this, there is another lineage sitting invisibly, is why I say that there is, you say East Africans, that invisible clan who's sitting there as Tamil, who always connected with them, trespassing them. And Philistines, and who are these people that their enemies when they went to Canaan? Philistines are the enemies. Why were they enemy? No reason. But if you read about Philistines, their own book will say that how they had proper cities and 5, it's a confederate. It was not a monarchy, it was a confederate, 5 different tribes. And as a confederation, they lived. The only reference next to Tamils as sea people is to Philistines, and obviously there had to be us. Okay, if I say that they are us, there has to be some sort of a cultural or a linguistic remnant. Then I see that for their helmet, they call it kupi, which we call, our fishermen people have that. If they have it in bamboo, is a fisherman's hat. If they make it in metal, it is a helmet. We haven't digged much, and there is no Philistines today to discuss about. The Phoenician alphabet, the script, I talk about, that's another linguistic depth. I only know the outline. I never really deep into it. So I do know that there are some retroflex consonants are being discussed between the Tamil and oldest Tamil and Phoenician alphabet. So I am not clear with that, so I cannot go further with the topic. But cultural remnants, yes. So when we look at it, our travel, if we were with the Greek, both for 4,000 years and 5,000 years, this is the actual safest route because the land route was so difficult. There is no way in Red Sea we would have taken the right because the right was absolute desert with only the natives know the paths, who are the Bedouins, who are always highly unpredictable. There is no way that anyone can ever have a treaty with them. And except the border, the coastal side, obviously, if you want to protect the left and if you want to protect the path, the people who live on the left have to protect. The bottom, they have to protect the upper coastal line. That's why once we had a discussion that the upper part, must be owned by the same people, who has a huge civilization here, the Kemetic Erythreans and all that. So if you do not protect the other side, then this side will not be protected, and no trespassing can be done by using vessels. So when you pass through that, then we reach the junction of Egypt, and then to go to Greece, pass through that, and even whether in between they use a land, this is the most safest route. People on this side, interconnected, interrelated, with this, along with their support, storage is required. A specific product cannot be carried, for 6 months or 1 year or 2 years by sea. So the storage places has to be there. It has to be protected. Partnership is required. Their benefits should be assured. To conducting a business is a big thing. So pass through all that. Then you go, to go to Greece, you cannot go into the deep sea, that you have to go to the coastal side. So in your coastal side, the Philistine side, the 11th coastal side, has to be our allies or our people, our station. And they were excellent with blacksmith, as blacksmiths. Speaking of blacksmiths, one of our primary export is swords to Greek people, because the swords what we used is carbon mixed swords. We mix the carbon along with the iron ore and make it so that sword is much stronger. And the one what we made is a shorter one, which is very similar to ours. Well, that's what Greeks were used. Because the primary problem they will have is when you swing swords clash, that the weaker one will break. That's a pathetic scenario. So you should not make it very long. If you make it long, it bends. So you make it short, it doesn't bend. It will withstand any blow. Speak about cultural, the similarities between old Greeks and this is, we can have it in a different session. So, only thing is that their ancient civilization is known as Minoan civilization, however you pronounce it. But but none of them will have a meaning. If I pronounce it in Tamil, it is a Minoan civilization. Minoan denotes Pandya kingdom, because that's our emblem. Minoan means is fish. So Philistines, they want to kill. They are enemies. And okay, it is not the biblical killing. Let's say that biblical killing happened ages ago. But what happens now? The guy, a Tamil guy who married to a Jewish woman, trying to be a Jewish guy, father of two Jewish boys, he tells me today, actually about a month ago, today Israelites are killing Palestinian people. It is because it seems that particular Palestinians who are in West Banks are descendants of Amalekites who fought with King David during King David's period. That's all. They had one fight. So they want to kill them now. These people are silent. They are not telling us what exactly they are thinking. What is the problem they have with somebody? They come to Clubhouse. The government organized people from Israel. I do know some people. I've spoken to them, discussed with them. Eli and few people, they say that we are here on friendship. But the Jewish guy, wannabe Jewish guy, says that the problem cannot be settled. It is because those people are Amalekites, who fought with David 2,000, 3,000 years ago, so they want to kill them now. So you go kill somebody today and say that, his great-great-grandfather 2,500 years ago, fought with my grandfather. This is what they do. They want to kill it. They now see what happened. They put curses upon, curses upon Philistines, curse after another, and today we don't even know who Philistines are. They make it happen because they are the evidence for these people who actually stole their land. But they have their own narrative. Only thing they add is God said. So who are the other people they are upset about? The Shibboleth, you see that is where the genocide. So the one who betrayed, the one who stole, the one who lied, the one is jealous of everyone because of zero skill set, me, than the one and who can hate somebody for a different dialect. Is only always one people till today. And they are the one who says that somebody is hating them. It is because all that, whatever they have done, these people have done in the past. The history says that. So I'll hold it out to this part, because from this part, from Shibboleth, there goes. Okay, let me stop it once I'm done with the Saul's part. Have this one as one part. The second part will start it from King David. Right. And Shibboleth, even during the period of Judges, they are cleansing people within themselves. Ephraim tried to keep the old habits, old dialects, old cultures, so they finished them, genocide. Then they restructured that, making it as a land. They felt kind of comfortable, enough killing, satisfied. Other generations come, because then they become the settlers. They have a land on their own. The grape is easy to grow. Lazy man's drink, I guess, I don't know, or the drink makes them lazy. So they have all that. Then they ask for a king. When they ask for a king, then there is this huge part I'm actually missing and skipping. That is Levites' role in the community. That should be discussed. So they provide some very valid, and maybe I can touch here and there. See, when you read Deuteronomy, there are instructions are being given, and do's and don'ts, and the laws to be followed, and actions to be skipped. That is not the axis of the human civilization. That is for people who didn't have that. whatever it is said in Deuteronomy, that like in different words, it was practiced by rest of the world. That's why they were able to establish civilizations, which we were not talking about it, because we are simply practicing it, because thousands of years before that, it was all taught. The discipline was taught. The rules and regulations and understanding between people are taught. Good and bad were discussed. Do's and don'ts were discussed by practice for thousands of years, that we really didn't have to write about it. But even prior to that, prior to Moses, during the period of Abraham, Hammurabi writes Hammurabi Code. It is about some 256 codes. He had to do it. It is because during the period of Hammurabi, in Sumeria, there were 3 languages were the official languages, which means 3 major linguistic groups were there. 3 different cultural people are there. 3 different segments came from different places. One may be the natives, and another, it was a cosmopolitan, right? And it talks about 4,000 years ago from now. It's actually exact 4,000, 3,800 years. Hammurabi's period is 1,750, I guess. So it is talking about government will allow women to register land on their own. It advises people that women must have lands on their own. One of the primary reasons why the people of Judea are up against them, the equal rights, because that is the only thing they refuse their women. They are the breeding grounds. When they have less men, they send their women to board children for them. Even in scientific studies, it says that when intermarriage is, internal marriage is happening always within the relatives, that after a point of time, more females will be there. It's one of the natural phenomena. So the ethnic have to mix with another one. Or to avoid that, these guys, what they do is one marry multi-women. So some wicked men, bring out rules to make themselves happy. So here, what happens? They ask for the king. Then Saul comes. When Saul, if you see that, every action was done in a proper manner. Then the Philistines' war comes. They come and challenge. If you look at the challenge, Philistines comes and challenge. There was a rule. The Philistine army was very big. If they wanted, they could have ravished the whole society. They could have just fell on these people and massacred everybody. They didn't. They stood there. They waited. They kept their champion, asking for Israel to send a champion, which means they didn't believe in killing everyone here. And these people, yes, they fought. Their champion went, David Vance, kills Goliath. Unfair warfare. And that is considered as the bravest and proudest thing. It's I call you for a sword fight and you snipe me out. Okay, let's consider that it's a brave thing. Okay, now, when he was proclaimed, David was proclaimed as a king, is it all Israelites followed David? If you can Google David's generals, David is a Jew. He is the son of Judah. When he is fighting with Saul, even after that, after Saul's death, he fights with the neighborhood. The people of Judah are supposed to be the greatest warriors because King David is a Judah. They're supposed to be smart. The zero skill set people. But if you look at the list, none of them will be Judah. I think hardly one or two. Everybody is is outsiders. All his bodyguards, which they call it, their own general. Uriah, who is first husband of Bathsheba, King Solomon's mother, the Uriah is a Hittite. A Hittite wouldn't have married a Jewish woman, so Bathsheba has to be someone else. Bathsheba's ancestry is not mentioned. Whether she's a Moabite, whether she is a Hittite, is not mentioned. Whether she is Jewish, no. Then David marries her, Bathsheba. Then King Solomon was born, and King Solomon is considered as a Jewish. By whom? By Muslims. It's the Muslim documents talks about King Solomon. Jewish document don't say much about King Solomon. Keep that in mind. They don't speak much of Solomon. In fact, they try to even talk that like he didn't exist. Because according to the later Jewish people, when they were writing Torah in Babylon in 700 BC, when they evolved written language of Hebrew with a script, when they were writing that, they wanted to avoid. They had a different culture. A man born out of a Jewish woman can be a Jewish man, but a different woman cannot be a Jewish man. He can be in another different way that we will explain about it later. But he can never be a priest or a king. The guy, let's say, if talking about the guy I know, the Tamil guy married a Jewish woman and their son can be considered as Jewish, but that Jewish boys, on their descendants, there is no way they can ever become a rabbi. If someone has to be a rabbi, there should not be a mix. Their ancestors shouldn't have mixed with anyone. Both husband and wife should be from Jewish descent. Only then they can become a rabbi. They can become a leader. They can become a king or a prime minister or any of the one who can hold high position. Otherwise, they'll have a different level for the different type of mix. But here we see that King David's wife is not a Jewish woman. She was married to Hittite guy, Uriah, who was one of his generals. After he dies, in fact, I usually don't like to go deep there. Personal thing, that is. Just because these people made, I am not supposed to talk bad about King, right? King David. I don't know. So, it is there in the Bible that specifically it is being discussed over and over. So I wonder how King Solomon was Jewish. So after this king, then there goes that after King Solomon, everything is gone. Okay, sorry, another important part. So when we look at the scenario one kings and two kings, all that you see. When Saul was alive, most of the tribes, that is almost 10 tribes, were with King Saul. It is only Judea and his usual brother Benjamin is with King David. King David wasn't a king for everyone as long as Saul lived. 10 tribes were following King Saul, not King David. Not because of Prophet Samuel. Though he said it, not because of that. And okay, that's where I end, and just hit a few points from Deuteronomy. I think I've already said that. See, all that terms of laws and everything, it has been taught to these people because these people are lawless people. Most importantly, thy prophets tell them that do not lie, because that's the first thing they learned when they wanted to be different ethnic. They lied. This is the background of this ethnic. Their ethnicity, their principles, their way of life was all built on this. And this is the ethnic fall cry today, and say that, say any simple thing against our belief is anti-Semitism. What if Whoopi Goldberg said, it's whites on whites? Prove it, it is wrong. Right. How instantly, she was removed from the position? So, what kind of an authority this ethnic has it? Is the people feel for it and do that? Through the media, you say anything, your career will be shut down. This ethnic has that influence. How these things in the last 110, 20 years has been built on these people in public media. The specific topics where I wanted AK to have a mutual understanding is done, but I'm jumping onto another to say that all these people who are in media all over the world, they have only one dream. They just want to do something shitty or something great or whatever it is and get one simple award, Philister's award. You all know that, right? If I'm wrong, please back channel. Who is this guy? Google them. This guy used to own newspaper in England in 1920s. He was very famous for one thing. You know for what? He killed those newsies. They made them slaves. Who are the newsies? The children. 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, and 12-year-old, maximum is 14-year-old, and the newsies, they were known as newsies, they were the newspaper boys. How the distribution has to be done is, if anyone wants to be a newsie, in this publication house, newspaper house, there would be a counter. If you want to be a newsie, you go to that guy, he'll be at the counter and say that, give me 50 papers or 100 papers. I am capable of selling all of them. And they have to pay money for it and take the paper. If they can't sell it, it is on them, I guess. And they have to go the very fancy manner, they advertise on headline, they read the headlines, and they scream in the most fancy way, in an attractive manner, so that people will buy the newspaper. they will say something fake also. Like, they have a title and say something wrong. The people become curious. They create curiosity of people and trigger their curiosity and make them buy the paper. They were doing it. This Philister, he raised the cost of the price that where guys couldn't make it. When they went on a strike, he created a lot of traitors within them and he destroyed that strike. He didn't want to give them that one extra cent. Because according to the logic, you give into that, the worst will come after. Then that's why they never give in. It's like one of the policies Americans would have, they never negotiate with someone who threatens them. Right or wrong is a different question. Whatever their rule, people have to take it. The Philister was very famous for that. He literally dominated in various different ways. If you read his history, you will know that how they really did it. How they dominated these newspaper media then. That is the award everybody is dying for. People are dying for this award. So, anyway, that's where I rest my case, gentlemen. So the first part is the over. This we have finished until King Saul. There is a long way to go. That we would go, we pass through that, and we would discuss about the next session. We would discuss about, or I will lecture about how Israel became two different nations, and how the Judea were. Who are those people who were taken to Babylon? There are two narratives. One is taken to Babylon. Another one is went to Babylon, and who were chained in Babylon, who were living in Babylon in luxury, who were dominating in Babylon. All that we would discuss, and that is when the Torah was written. So, whatever I spoke so far, is the foundation of a specific ethnic character. That's what we did now. So as far as things have been spoken, that what cannot be spoken so far. But this is a prelude to make sure that AK and myself are on the similar page. And then after once that one session is over, another session is over, we would have specific titles in a way how news is did with raise the curiosity, and there we would talk about it part by part and discuss with different people. Whoever wants to oppose us or disagree with us or argue with us, and we will have the discussion. So that will be more enlightening. So step by step, and there are about 4 to 5 questions would be the titles of the room, and different subjects will be discussed, everything related to these people. And let's see, maybe Hyder Ali will upload that on YouTube and no one will see it. Okay, so we will see all that later, so that his channel can be blocked. So we will see that. And now, gentlemen, and hello Tamil, Ulande, Noga, Shin, Brother Chin, Kshatriya, hello. Would you like to say something or say hello or shout or say whatever, please come up. Thank you. Haider. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, Haider. So that's all for tonight about whatever I wanted to say. I think AK heard fully, so it's fine. If otherwise we get some sleep.
Yes.
Let's see. Yeah, if Kulali you're awake, want to say something, Tamil, Noga, Chin, please accept the invitation and let's say hello. And otherwise, we will see you all after the break. Right. Okay, Haider.
Yeah.
Let's see that way.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, thanks. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, all of you.
Prolonging due to Forbishley regime disguised as Muslim world. Satyugam possible.